Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers, and excellence seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level. And I am your host, Despina Karatius.
Relax.
Who I am about to introduce you to, she was actually my very first Tourism Hub podcast guest. So if you go back in the archives to the very first one in 2016, you will hear all about Liz Ward. Liz, she is a digital strategist known for her work in building capability in the tourism and small business sectors. This is why we are so aligned, and I love working with Liz. She is an incredible game changer through her innovative training and mentoring approaches and the many strategic projects she has formulated and really led the way on. Please, everybody, join me in welcoming Liz Ward from Tourism Tribe and Navii, Navii Digital. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Desi. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hi. Beautiful Friday afternoon.
It is beautiful. Even in Melbourne, it's beautiful. Liz is joining us. She's from sunny Brisbane in Queensland, where the land of the free.
Yeah, relatively speaking, that is so true.
Yes.
True. Really feel for you guys in Melbourne. My daughter's in Melbourne. We've got other team members in Melbourne, and I know it's a little bit tight for you guys down there at the moment, but it's looking better, isn't it? So that's awesome.
It is definitely looking better. It's looking better, and hopefully that will stay like that. We just everything is all in the unknown, but we are waiting and seeing how things will play out. And that's why this is a great opportunity, really, to bring to the front positive stories and stories of hope and inspiration of what exists in our industry to keep going, and that this is not the end. This is the beginning. Whether it's a new beginning, that's okay. But I'm thrilled to have you join me again for the second time, which is wonderful, Liz. Now, to give everybody I've recently joined the Tourism Tribe and Navii Digital team. So I've been working with Liz for many years now, since the beginning, or even pre-Tourism Tribe. They've just celebrated their 5th year milestone, which is a fantastic milestone in any business. And it's been a great honour and a privilege to join the team there as their little chief navigator. And I wanted to welcome you, Liz, and really a big mission, I guess, for us at Tourism Tribe and extending to Navii Digital across to many small businesses is helping small business make the transition from small to smart. Tell me a little bit about your stepping into Tourism Tribe, your big aha moment that this is something that this industry, to start with, needs some digital capability to make that transition.
It's really interesting to reflect on that story, because I'm a big believer in and how I get my energy as well is bouncing off other people quite often. Some people are more introverted in their creativity and do really well to inwardly think things through, whereas I'm somebody with the right people around me. That's where I come up with great solutions, by bouncing things around and get more creative. And it's been fantastic that I've been able to take this journey in Tourism Tribe with my business partner, Fabian Wintle, who you've also interviewed. And Fabi and I were working together on a number of projects years back. And in fact, I was her client, if you like. She was consulting to us at the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse that I was running at the time. But we were actually coincidentally both presenting at a conference in Wollongong at the university there. We're having a cup of coffee at an awesome little coffee shop, and we were brainstorming about because we couldn't help, whenever we had a cup of coffee, we would brainstorm. That was the electricity between us. And we were brainstorming on how do you actually grow, grow the business capability in the digital age of tourism operators when they are located in some of the most beautiful remote areas across the world and in Australia. And for them, it's turning the clock back 7 years or so, and even now today, internet access is not 100% reliable. Getting to they're trying to catch up with technology and work out how to use it, and they are busy running their businesses, and then they get invited. The solutions that they had were being invited to a workshop maybe 150 kilometres down the road, or even a lot further, for a half a day or a day, and being, okay, you've done your workshop, back you go to your business, go implement all that, would you? That'd be fantastic. You'd be a much better business as a result, which is, when you think about it, is totally unrealistic. And we also know, and it's been reinforced again with the more recent research that we're getting from our federal government partners at the moment through the Navii business that we're establishing and have that great grant for. They're feeding us research really recently, and things haven't changed in that a small business operator, and 90% of our industry in tourism are small businesses, they rely on really trusted advice and lots of hand-holding and helpfulness, because they don't have a digital expert on their team. Of course they don't. They're jacks of all trades. So we're throwing around these problems and going, how do we solve this? What could we do to make a difference? Because we're both really motivated to make that difference. And that's when we came up with Tourism Tribe and said, let's provide the support that they need no matter where they are located, because there's a whole stack of people out there we want to see succeed in tourism. We want them to achieve their lifestyle goals as well as good business goals. And so that's when we came up with Tourism Tribe and said, we'll take the support and the learning materials to them, because we knew that the internet capacity was growing all the time. And even if it wasn't 100% at that point in time, it's been increasing and improving all the way through. So we pitched the idea as we were developing the website, and the idea to have all these great learning and support resources and online training running through it, specifically for the tourism sector, because that's the other thing we know based on the research and our learnings, is that small businesses need to see learning materials and examples that they can really relate to. You can't just generalize this. It has to be relevant to their type of business, and that's what switches it on and motivates them if they can see another business similar to theirs doing it well. So we pitched the idea by making a simple little video for the UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, seeing a tourism operator being supported online by a digital expert and helping to sort out the basics of their website and their e-commerce and different things that they needed to be successful. And if we got shortlisted actually into, or were in that runner-up group for innovation in their awards that year, so we knew we were onto something. And that really motivated us to push forward. And, we started slowly. In June of 2015, we went out, people were really interested in it, they came on board immediately, and then we just kept learning from there. And a business mentor of mine said to me last year, she said, oh, geez, you're working hard, aren't you? I said, yeah, we sure are, but, we can really see as we're evolving this product and making sure it meets the needs that it's working. And we can see the difference it's making for these business operators. And she said, you know what, Liz, when you are building a business, it's a bit like building a jumbo jet, which, of course, Qantas have just retired their jets. But it's like building a jumbo jet. It takes 5 years to build it and get it off the ground, and then when you get it off the ground, it just soars. So you're so close. You are just about there. You've lasted this long as a business. That means you will soar. Just get past that 5-year mark. So that was really encouraging, and I'm not sure that directly answers your question. It probably goes a little, in a sort of a roundabout way to do that, but the motivation was to take the services to them rather than them coming to a central place, and to have ongoing help because they don't have a digital expert on their team. So if we could become the little digital expert that they could tap into at any time that suited them, that was a problem that we could solve. And that's what we've been able to do.
Oh, and you've been able to do that very, very well. And I see that for anyone else that might be considering a business or a career change at the moment, what I love with what you've just shared, this is something like based on a collective of experience and your own intel that you sometimes you just have to follow that feeling as well, and then you had the support of data to back that up. But having that, having that that intuition that there's something that's missing here and we could do things better in our industry that can propel you forward and not to be ignored as well, because you can have a coffee and discuss ideas and do nothing about them either. But the fact that, starting from a coffee chat, this beautiful business evolved. I hope it inspires many that are listening or tuning in and watching us this afternoon. And when businesses, particularly small businesses, remote or regional or any tourism operator, when they're making that transition from being digitally, having the digital capability or having, making that pathway to creating digital practices, what would be some three key pieces of, or three critical steps that you could share with us that could help them do something right away?
And I need to kind of jump to where most small business operators sort of jump to first. If you ask them the question about what do you need to make your business more digitally savvy and to make the most of opportunities that are out there through technology, nearly all of them will talk about digital marketing. They'll talk about, I want to get more sales online. I need Facebook ads, I reckon. That's what I reckon I need.
Yeah.
And that's okay because that's what they hear the most about. And God, Facebook is the best advertiser ever. So of course they just hear lots about Facebook ads and that they should be doing them and that this is going to drive their business. And there's so much merit in that thinking, absolutely. But what we have to do is kind of take them back in a sexy way to the non-sexy stuff, because there's no point. They're just going to be throwing their money away if they go slam up a Facebook ad and their business is not ready for it. So we bring them back to some sort of core assets that they need to have in their business before they start getting on that driving the leads into their business to convert them. So we bring them back to, okay, let's have a look at these assets. Have you got these things in place? Like, first of all, if you're going to be exposing your personal data, your business data, your systems, more so on the internet, then let's just check a couple things about cyber security and safe password management. And people are like, oh, really? Do we have to go? Yeah, we do, because the last thing we want is for you to take a retrograde step and actually your business, say if your Facebook account gets hacked and you can't manage. And what if they then get into your other passwords, your other websites, maybe your banking website, because you're in the habit of using the same password across multiple websites? What if your website host gets hacked and they don't have a backup of your website and then your website's not working? So these are kind of the non-sexy things, but securing your business and making sure that it can be operable very quickly again should something go pear-shaped in the digital age is really important. So a couple of things in that space that we always recommend is safe password management. So getting onto a safe password tool. I use 1Password, and that works really well for me. People have their preferences and they've got to be comfortable doing it, but throw away the post-it notes and throw away the habit of using the same password, whether that's spelling your dog's name backwards or whatever it is, and it will save you a lot of time as well. And then look at basic cybersecurity good practice as well and tighten up your practices there. Then we look at that kind of next level of, so they want to do better marketing and get more leads into their business so that they can sell more. It's all about the bottom line, isn't it? You know, you've got to chase the money, go where the money is. But what about those assets now, the foundation assets that they need to have? So this is where we look at getting that core really stable before they start driving more people to their business. What are we talking about here? We're talking about their website as their number one marketing asset. This is now their shop front. Just even think about COVID, anecdotally and through research reports coming out, we know that online retail has gone through the roof, while physical retail, of course, has suffered badly. The number of people who have switched over to online shopping since the beginning of April is incredible. PayPal has reported that their silver tech users, so over 50 years of age, they've had growth in that sector of people downloading PayPal like they've never had before. So even our older generation is shopping online. So this your website is, don't think of it as a pretty digital brochure. This thing has to work for you. It has to be your very best salesperson 24/7. So there's work that needs to be done there to get their product and sales pages really schmick and really, make them more likely to sell for them. And so there's techniques around that. There's all the basics of their online presence. We want to make sure that they are findable on Google. And I'm going to quote you here. I'm going to steal your quote here, Desi. I love this quote. If you want to hide a body, look to Google, because no one is going to go there. That is the best quote ever.
Yeah.
So that's presence, because we know that, and particularly in tourism, Google search, we say Google search because like 95% of the search market is used, a tremendous amount in people going through the research, planning and booking phases of their holiday making. So we've got to get that search optimization on their website working. We want their listings, their important listings that they have online, like Google My Business, really great. And we want to do some marketing strategy work with them as well. And now more than ever before, and I know that this is going to sit online for a while, this interview, but our COVID marketing environment is going to be with us for a while too.
Yeah.
And now more than ever is the time to be crystal clear about who your ideal customer or who your ideal guest is. So doing some good basic marketing work around identifying your target markets, which might be more local than they've ever been before, and who's your ideal customer persona, so that you can be clear about your content marketing that you want to do. So what content appeals to them? Do you need to tweak your product? Have you been through other research available to you, like your online reviews, like your TripAdvisor reviews? Go through and have a look at the gold nuggets in people's comments on Google and Facebook reviews and TripAdvisor, and do a SWOT, do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats review of those comments to find out how could you be tweaking your products. Have you got some ideas for packages? Maybe you could do some work with some other operators in the region to put a great package together to appeal to this ideal customer. Or maybe you've got some fine tuning to do and need to do some staff training. So we look at those basics to get the base really right. Then we teach them about marketing, the bit that they came to us for. Now their website is to receive all of these leads. But what about the people who don't actually end up booking on the website but are kind of interested, but what are you going to offer them? Because we know that a good conversion rate on a tourism website to convert a looker to a booker is 5%. What about the other 95%? What do we do to start to develop a trusting relationship with them so that when they are ready to travel, or so that you can keep your business as an option in their mind for the future? We want to do what's called a lead magnet. So we want to have some beautiful piece of content that they will give you their email address in exchange for. And we do work with them on that, so that, and then have their some email marketing automation triggered off the back of that, to aim to build a trusting relationship with them. Not an annoying relationship where they're going to get rid of that email subscription straight away, but one that is really in line with their ideal customer persona and what they're interested in. So then we're ready to run that campaign. Then we're ready to teach them about building a Facebook audience and getting that campaign in place, and they're ready to go. So there's a lot of steps in there, but I suppose if there were 3 key takeaways: secure your business and use a safe password manager, optimize your website, make sure that it is working, take an objective critical review of it, and particularly the home page and the sales pages. Is it really great for your user, for your ideal customer? Develop customer personas that are right for this COVID market and work with your target markets, and then look at your marketing strategy in terms of the types of activities that you do in organic social media, content marketing like blog posts, email marketing automation, and Facebook ads. And that would be a very quick summary of the kind of steps that we would step people through.
It is so important, and I love what I've written down. A looker to a booker is only 5%. So I think with it, from someone looking, and hello and welcome, Katrina Reynolds. She is the General Manager at Yarra Valley Estate. Shout out to Yarra Valley Estate. Core business matters first to allow you to grow successfully. Well done, Katrina. Absolutely. Stick to your core. Fabi said it the other day when we were doing a training. You've got to, you're building a house. You've got to build the frame first. You've got to lay out the concrete before you go in and buy the beautiful furniture. So that is something that looker to a booker, only 5%. So the 95%, if we're not doing something, we're losing, we're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. Tell me about, in light of COVID and your inherent mission to support and help, you were able to quickly develop upskilling in our industry to help take businesses through the foundations, like the entree and the main meal and dessert of what it takes to be smart. Tell us about, do you like that? Like that program really takes through the 3 steps and more that Liz has just sent, because Liz has just shared with us. And even if you just do those things to start with, you are coming out leaps and bounds. But in terms of like how you are putting this in a framework to help businesses take them on the journey, when a lot of our small business community is quite isolated, working on their own or in small teams. So tell us how that program evolved from the upskilling to what now is going to be a newly launched digital business keeper.
I'll tell you what happened, and that it started with, in terms of our journey on this, is the last time I was outside of Queensland was the last week of March. So I'm over the border down at beautiful, gorgeous, beachy place that we go to a lot called Yamba in northern New South Wales. So shout out if anyone's from the northern New South Wales coast, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We are Yamba files. We love it. And we were there for a week and had friends stop, and it was awesome. In between, when I wasn't being rude to friends, I'm sitting there and I'm just getting my thoughts down into like a mini white paper that we then shared with the industry about how to respond in a disaster, because I was thinking about COVID as a disaster, and I just had all this stuff in my head, and I was sort of like marketing best practice and these sort of steps we were talking about, and I wrote it down into a report on there, tap. Anyway, and then so I had a lot sitting in my head, and then that following, just immediately that weekend, we got that report out, and then the following weekend, ScoMo says cancel your holidays. You're not going anywhere. It's stopping. And that was, I think, the last weekend of March. And on the Monday morning, the team and Fabi and I got together and we said, how do we respond to this? What do we do? Because this is going to be crippling to the industry, to the tourism industry. What can we do? We said, well, we need to do something that is immediate. We need to do something that is going to make best use of this lockdown period that we are now forced into. So what does that look like? That looks like an online program once a week for the 12-week period of lockdown, where we're delivering this really helpful advice through online learning, workshop, and support. We've got to give them hands-on support. So let's do a weekly support session, and let's give them access to the Tourism Tribe library. So we had the wherewithal to do that. So we formulated the idea, and the next day, on the Tuesday, we launched it. And then we played catch up, and we went live with it the following week. That we played catch up every week over that 12-week period, then creating content for that course for the week. And we called that Upskill During Lockdown. And thank you to my daughter Alex for coming up with that name for us. So it was just brainstorming happening everywhere. And it was amazing. People jumped on board. They told us that this is really good because it's keeping me motivated. I'm talking to other tourism operators who are in the same position. They might be on the other side of Australia, but they were making connections and sharing. They were doing what we set out to do, which was to upskill themselves and improve their business during this shutdown period. So it was tick, tick, tick. That's great. And then before we knew it, we were running a second intake just for South Australia, because the South Australian government was also very quick to respond to their industry. They put money on the table to South Australian Tourist Commission and said, do something with this to help your industry. They came to us and said, would you please be one of a couple of suppliers who runs a program for our industry? So we had an intake of nearly 200 South Australian tourism operators that we started a couple of weeks later. Then we did intake 3. At one stage, we had 3 intakes running at the same time. It was hilarious. You could use that word there. It was crazy, but it was fantastic, because even though we were tired, what we saw was people being motivated, connected, and upskilling. And it has been so rewarding to see them make the improvements of those foundation things that we just spoke about. And it's been varying degrees of steps that they have taken, with some of them now reporting, I've developed my lead magnet. I've now built a database in a couple of weeks of 350 contacts that I can now call my own and start to, connect with. I've put live chat widget onto my website, and I'm finding that people are engaging better and, asking questions. And, I've started posting in the way that was suggested on social media, and I'm getting much better engagement than I've had before. So just any of those pieces of feedback drive us forward then with the next evolution of the program, because as COVID evolves and as we learn what's working, as we take on the feedback, we go, well, what is the right format for this program going forward? So that is where we're up to intake 4 of, no, it's actually the 5th if you include
It's
SAPC.
5th, yeah.
At the moment, which is Upskill for Tourism Recovery. And what we launch next week, what we commence next Wednesday on the 9th of September, is what we're calling Digital BizKeeper 101. Because one of the things that we saw was that some operators, it was a little bit much for them. It was a bit too far of a journey in the one program. There were some that those foundation pieces, and even their digital literacy, their confidence with moving around online tools and different applications that are available to them, it held them back. It became a bit of a blocker, and they were like, oh, I don't know how to get into that. And whilst we were there to help them with the tech support, they felt a little bit blocked. So what we said is, let's separate this into more of a foundation program and allow them to bolt those things down first in a nicely paced way. and then let's offer an intermediate level course. So that's what we're doing. We've gone Digital BizKeeper foundational course, which is a 101, and then we'll do the Digital BizKeeper 202. And yes, we do live intakes, but with these programs, we also you have the opportunity to do self-paced as well. So if people not available on Wednesday the 9th or each Wednesday to do that live course, that's okay, because you can get to it for life on your dashboard on Tourism Tribe in the future. You can get to all those learning materials. So it's been a journey, and it's been hectic, and it's been so rewarding. So it's been great.
It's incredible, and we talk about a lot about digital transformation. For me to come and join you on the back of these intakes is something that we have really, it's been incredible to see these businesses really make it, not only come to upskill and learn, but develop and do the work in their own businesses to see these outcomes. And it's very exciting, very exciting. Now, the other thing that I thought, you've had a rich history, you have rich experience in the corporate world. Now coming in and being able to have seize moments of change and recognize an opportunity to help your industry and turn something around that quickly. What would you say? I mean, is that something that you think you could have done in previous roles that you've had before you started? Because I think the benefits of working in small teams and having a small business, just the turnaround of making, and I guess what I would love to inspire others that, just to take that quick action, like have a go. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You'll learn something. If you can talk to that a little bit in your experience, do you look back and say, if I try to do this at XYZ, like, yeah.
I just, look, what's the benefit of having your own business, having all the risk, having to generate your own pay and the wages of others in your team? What's the benefit of that if you can't make decisions quickly? Like Fabian and I are the owners of our companies. Well, our family trusts are. We're the board of directors. So if you can't make a quick decision and implement it quickly, then, what's the point? That's why you've got your own business.
Yeah.
One of the reasons you have. And, I'm also on, I'm a fellow of Australian Institute of Company Directors. So I really understand the boardroom as well. And I understand good governance, and I understand risk management and all those sorts of things. And so that is intrinsic. When I make a decision, or Fabian and I make a decision, my brain is still there, but there's nothing holding us back from implementing straight away. I don't have to write a board paper and pull the board together for a presentation. We've just made that decision over Slack messaging. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But however, when I think back to my corporate life, there's no way it would have happened overnight. And, it would have been probably 2 months of decision making and pulling the board together and assessing the risk. And I would have drowned in paper by the time we got there, and COVID lockdown would have been 3/4 over. So,
Yes.
what's the point, but those the organizations that have that structure, there's a reason that they have them, but for governance and, to really look after their customers' interests, etc. However, in 2020 and in COVID, the culture of being quick to make a decision and assess opportunities quickly and to fail fast and to have an exit strategy, they've got to have them, no matter how bureaucratic the organisation is. And, we've seen some very quick responses out of government early in COVID, and they've been criticised sometimes because it wasn't quite right. But I tell you what, they moved quickly, and thank goodness that they did. And I think corporate boardrooms need to think about that and be led by that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you've just shared with us a big aha moment, but if you look at your career, can you think of that one thing that's created a real turning point for you, that aha moment that you look back and say that was the decision, or that was the turning point to the success that I'm having now, whether it's during Tourism Tribe or pre, something
I
that really planted does something pop out at you when I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. And how it came about, my realization of it, it had been sitting there, but you know how sometimes thoughts are sitting in your subconscious, but they haven't actually gotten through to your conscious mind yet. And I was asked to MC a Australian Chamber of Commerce women's conference in Brisbane. It was about women entrepreneurs. It was aiming at them. They had great speakers, awesome, and little old me being asked to MC, which was lovely. And it wasn't that long after we'd started Tourism Tribe, and I thought I need to tell them a bit about myself. And I thought, well, how am I an entrepreneur? What is that? What is that? And something dawned on me. I thought, oh God, this is new. This feeling of we cannot fail. And I had never experienced that feeling before. There was 100% confidence that we will succeed on this business journey, knowing that there will be changes because of challenges or things we don't quite get right. We will adapt, we will change, but we will not fail. And I had never had that 100% clarity and confidence before in anything else I'd ever done. And I wonder if that is the mindset that a great athlete has. I don't know. And I'm not saying I'm a great business person. It was a whole new experience for me to have that mindset. And it just happened as a result of all the elements, I think, coming together, that I believe that we will succeed. There's no doubt in my mind that we will succeed. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like over the next few years, but we will just keep adapting until we do. So I just had complete and utter commitment to success. Now, I wish I knew what the secret sauce was that happened. I think it's just a combination of things, and somehow I made that decision. So I wish I could tell people how to get there. All I can say is put aside the thoughts that don't serve you, and accept that it will not be a perfect path, and that you will always work to find a quick adjustment to get there. But I just going to say one more thing, and one thing that I think did really help with that is we were so clear from the get-go on the legacy we were trying to leave, that vision of helping tourism small businesses, regardless of their location, being able to take the service to them. And we're so crystal clear on that, and that is still the same vision, which I think of a vision as a legacy. I think if you look back, 20 years, imagine 20 years forward, and you look back on, what good did you do? What were the outcomes? That should equal what the vision was. So I think it could be something to do with that as well. You go through corporate planning days. We've all been tortured by those. And sometimes they're fun and sometimes they're less fun. And we create as a group visions, missions, goals. It's like, oh, and some people cringe as I'm saying this, going, oh my God. And we go, oh yes, I can own that vision, I can own that mission, I can own those goals, but does anyone really keep them up? Yeah, no. Just be your own business, you're in control, you are steering the ship. Own and love that vision, and know that it's something that you really want to leave behind as a legacy. That's probably at the heart of it, I think.
Oh, so much goodness in that, because I love you had shared that when we went through this new chapter with Tourism Tribe, and we'll talk a little bit about Navii, but in that legacy that you said, I want to know that when I'm sitting, I'm on the rocking chair looking back, what is it that I will look back on and be really proud of? And I love that reframe of vision being what is going to be the legacy, the footprint that you'll leave behind on this world. And what a powerful thing to experience. I mean, that's really powerful thing that you can remember this calling of, we will not fail. Like this empowering confidence that this is it, we're here to stay. There's a lot of, I mean, we even spoke to two very prominent leaders, particularly for women in business. I haven't quite heard of any of our brothers really deal or verbalize imposter syndrome, but I have certainly heard it come, being verbalized and shared of, like, I suffer from imposter syndrome. I have even students in my diploma course, like, I've got imposters, and I'm like, what is this thing of imposter syndrome? And maybe
I know what it is. I know what it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've experienced it a lot. That it's enough self-doubt that you wonder if you should actually be there in that role. It's enough.
Yes.
And the most surprising people have it, and more people have it than should have it. And, no one should have it, because if you're in the role, someone believes in you. And but it's a thing. It's a thing, and we have to learn to live with it and keep reminding ourselves of how we can deliver the outcomes and what we're delivering. Stop thinking so much about our characteristics, and or things that might have been holding us back from our past, and think about the next step I'm going to take. I'm going to take it in this way, and it is going to be delivered in this way, and it's going to get these outcomes, and I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on my next step that I'm taking, because that's the negative self-talk. It's such an energy sucker and a brain time sucker. While you're spending time thinking about that, you're not thinking about the next step.
Yes, the good legacy stuff. I love that. You said get rid of things that don't serve you. You've got to constantly declutter. And something that has just come to me now, I remember going with you to a women's event in Melbourne, and when I introduced you introduced me, and then I used the word, like, what do you do? We were in conversation, you introduced her, and I was, I'm just a trainer, and you kind of whispered over, you never put the word just. You're not just that. Own it, Despenna. And I was just like, yes, like it is a disempowering to say I'm just, no, you're not just that. You're so much more. So that was a very good thing to share with everyone. More, Liz. That is some really good stuff there, Liz.
Can I reinforce that, Desi, for everybody? Lose the just.
Lose the just.
Lose the just. Even when you start an email, I'm just checking in. No, I am checking in to see, have you had a chance to look at that proposal yet? We're dead keen to do the work. So, we're dead keen to lock down the details so that we can work with you to get the outcomes you're looking for. You're not just catching up because you haven't settled it. So lose the just. Every time you go to say it, every time you go to write it.
It's the new but. Lose the just. You got so many quotables out of this, Liz. That's true. It's not just when you're talking about, it's not when you're talking only about yourself, but even that makes a difference. Catching yourself. It's not only when you're talking about yourself, you also when you are communicating. This is another organisation you are on the chair and do some great work with, at the Women's Chiefs of Enterprises International. You're still heavily involved and do a lot there.
I am, yes. Yeah, I'm still on the national committee. I headed up the Queensland chapter for the previous 2 years, and I've been involved for a while. They're a fantastic organisation for professional women. It's mostly business owners who are the members, and also leaders in their industry in there as well. And we have chapters across Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland presently. And but it's connected globally. That's what's and its founders and its foundations, where it comes from, is really, really amazing roots where it comes from. So it started as out of France. And it was started by a group of women who were left to run the family businesses because their husbands either didn't come back from the Second World War, this is 1945, or were maimed. And so this is FCN, Femme Chef d'Entreprise Mondiale, so women leaders of the world. And they said, gosh, this was the lean in. This is women leaning in. They were going, we need to learn from each other. We've never run a factory before. What does that look like? So they became great textiles managing directors and ammunitions factories managing directors and all sorts of different businesses that these women had to take on, as well as run the family. And so they said, we need to share our experience. We need to learn from each other. So, and that holds true, still, doesn't it? Of course, as humans, we learn from each other if we either have the attitude that we want to share and learn from each other, or we don't. And there's a lot of people out there who appreciate that. And so this is the Australian version of that. So it is connected internationally, and we do some really good work internationally too. I've been working on an awesome project with a project team of a mentorship program for the Indian Ocean islands of Mauritius and Madagascar and Comoros. Wow. And yeah, so there's money that they got through Australian aid, through Austrade. And so that's given them a bit of money to start up this mentoring program. And now we've taken it to digital. So we've developed content that is going online inside a learning management system, and they're going to do the mentoring but use this online learning content as well. So I've been helping them out in a project team out of Australia with some friends like Andrea Plawitsky and others who have been helping them to put this together. So that's been great too. So there's the internal kind of Australian piece, but then there's how we externally exchange as well. And normally they have great international conferences and things too, but of course that's not happening right at the moment. We've got lots of online events that we've been having. So I've played a bit of a role helping them with the whole, let's take this on to Zoom.
Online.
Yeah. So it's been good.
Oh, really good stuff. When we talk about, I mean, this is to also add a layer of learning from challenges that we and yourself have experienced. Is there anything just like the aha moment that you can go back to a time where you were challenged and share with us, how you how you overcame that, if that's something that you could share with us? Could be anything, just to give some people hope of how, I have, that they can think, how would Liz handle this if they can tap into a strong leader's shoes? Is there something that comes to mind by way of first that you experienced that challenged you, and the steps you took to overcome it in business and in your career?
Yeah. Well, as leading an organisation, and you've had years of having, it might be a few bumpy roads here and there of getting the support of your shareholders and board on the strategy that you want to take them down. And you've got to work hard to convince them of those things, and what's the rationale, and now I need the funding from you, and can you keep them on the journey with you? We've been doing that for quite a few years, and it seems to be inevitable that that CEOs have an expiry date when it comes to their board or their shareholders. There's that looking for newness, looking for freshness. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened in this situation, but certainly the ability to keep them on the strategic pathway that I had all of a sudden became a lot harder. Now, what I learned in the previous years that I want to share with people is I really became to understand what groupthink was all about, because what I saw is with a good number of shareholders around the table, and not just in the boardroom, but then in daily life as well, when you're trying to get their support and, you're sharing with them options and information. I always found that if it was one that was what I would say was in the naughty corner, so I had them in my mind, they were in the naughty corner. It's like, I'm going to have to work them really hard to, get them back
Yeah.
on side, them loving us. That was okay. When you got two in the naughty corner, that's when you had trouble. Because what I found is that humans, when there's a group, if you get more than one who's got a strong view on the direction that people should take, that's when others will follow. So it's just a tip when you're working with groups and boards to try to deal with things. When you see that one person's got a problem with something in the group, don't ignore it. Deal with it, and deal with it with the whole group, rather than letting them go off the side and create a faction that then they'll mount support for. And in fact, I was watching this awesome episode of forgotten the name of the show now, science show on the ABC, used to be on all the time. It was awesome. And they had this experiment about groupthink, and they had goldfish in a tank going down this narrow tank, and it had a Y on it, to split off. And when just one goldfish took that alternative route, say route A, the others didn't follow. They went down the other way. When two goldfish went down there, more would follow. And I went, there you go, from goldfish to human, it's the same. So what happened was the losing faith in my strategy. And, maybe we better get a consultant in to check this. Maybe we better consult to do the whole review. And I thought, it was an aha of, here we go. It was face palm stuff. This is not. We're in for a rocky road here.
Yes.
And right at that split second, I knew that I will need to exit, because there's really no better, that will be the best outcome for me, will be to exit. But I don't want to go yet, and I'm not going to go yet. No one's asked me to go. So I'm going to work with them, and I am going to find the best possible outcome for the team, for the customers, and for this business. So I stuck in there for like 18 months. I worked through the new strategy. I worked with the rat bag of a consultant. I worked with the shareholders and the narky ones. I relied on some beautiful people around me and my team that were just, I didn't lean back on the team, but there were a couple of team members that they just, just a little bit of lift off through what was a pretty, hard thing personally to get through. And, there are a few tears, there are a few nightmares and all of that kind of stuff. It's hard. It's really hard doing something like that when you feel like you're being judged really closely. And they talk about imposter syndrome. It's not imposter syndrome at that stage. It is pure raw judgment.
Yes.
So so if it's not pure raw judgment, and you feel like an imposter, don't worry about it. Just think about the next step, So it was the aha moment was, yep, I will be out of here, but I'm not going yet. I'm going to I'm going to shine here, not because of my ego, because of these other things that I was really committed to, and particularly the people, particularly the team and the customers. I just thought, can't leave them high and dry. And so really worked through that. So it wasn't easy. And I think when people go through crises in their careers, in their roles, in their lives generally, in personal lives, you can't expect them to sail through it. They're probably a psychopath if they can. It's so if people are having a hard time, they are having a hard time. And I don't know that it's really hard to say, we'll do this, this, and this. It's about, but maybe if there is, what's the tip? How did I do it? I suppose I didn't cave into that feeling of it is, it's about me. I said, no, it's not just about me. It's about, they don't like the strategy I've taken them down. They don't like this and that. Yes, I suggested that strategy, but they made the decision on it and voted for it, so it's a whole
Yes.
range of things. And come back to your job. What have you been hired to do? You've been hired to be the navigator and to help. So stick to your job. Keep doing your job and do it the best you can do it. Because if there was one thing my ego was trying to do, was to walk out of that role with my head held high. I definitely wanted to do it with a level of dignity. Dignity was really important
Yeah.
to me. And I think
Yeah.
from an ego perspective, it was the only thing that was important to me. Was
Yeah.
I just wanted to feel dignified about how I carried myself through it. So I guess it's what's important to you, working that out. And but no, it was a bit of a yucky time, but you know what? You've got to go through them. You've got to get the scars. And I don't know that you can become a solid, or rely on yourself in business enough and have the confidence to take the knocks and the challenges unless you get the knocks and the challenges. It's
Oh,
bruises.
absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, Liz. And what I hear, and the more I get to know you, in even in light of what we were speaking earlier, it's having your own personal set of value system, because when you believe in something, you believe it. So seeing this group of goldfish that are going and the others are following, that what I'm doing here is important. It is what I'm here and hired to do, and I'm going to finish the job, to be able to have that word resilience when you're faced with challenges, with whether it's a COVID or just human interactions that can come into play. That can put a hurdle in front of you. But that is some really good things there for people if they're experiencing any type of conflict or not reading from the same hymn book because I know a lot of organizations, I mean, you can imagine what's happening in a lot of organizations at the moment in navigating change, that would, and the other added challenge that we can't be in the same room together, which can be, it's not over, for certain states anyway, that can be another challenger to itself if you are working on significant projects and you can't get in a room together and doing it in different ways. So thank you for that, Liz. I guess now a new baby's come on board, Navii Digital. You've had to and I love what you shared with the mentor that said you get one jumbo jet flying, getting more in the air should be. You've grazed your knees and you've had the learnings of one that you can model onto another. Tell us just a little bit about Navii Digital and now launching a second business.
It's exciting. So we're pregnant. I think we're in about the second stage of pregnancy at the moment.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Haven't quite given yet. But this one will be easier than the first one. So we saw the tender that went out. There was a task force, federal government task force was put together, headed up by the entrepreneur Mark Boris. He had led the task force committee, and there was some, great brains around that table who were looking at what is holding, for those businesses that feel they are held back from adapting to the digital environment and using technology as smartly as they can. What was it that was holding them back, and what would be some solutions? So one of their recommendations was to find somebody in the private sector who could empower small businesses to take the next step when it comes to digital adoption. So, we know that people are at varying stages of digital adoption, but generally speaking, if you look at a typical bell curve that's got 65% in the middle, on one side of that bell, you've got people who are on the drop side of it, you've got people who are early adopters. So they've put their toe in the water, they're using digital tools, but they're not at the leading edge with that. So, it would be about helping them to take the next step. Then there are the slow adopters. So those that are just starting, they've got the recognition, they know this is important, and they're just sort of grazing their knees, as you say, a little bit with digital, but haven't really got their business digitally transformed at this stage. So the task force recommendation was to find a private sector company who knew what the great methods were and had the wherewithal to be able to help small businesses to do that, and that they would federal government would be an investor in the startup of a non-government organisation to do that. By providing 50% of the funding for the first 2 years. So essentially it's a grant fund. So we applied for that. We wrote a story about what we'd done in the tourism sector with Tourism Tribe, and spoke about how we would be able to translate a lot of the intellectual property, the methods, the content that we have across to a new government organisation for small business generally. And lo and behold, knocked me over with a feather. They said, little old small business, you can take on this small business challenge. And so we are the recipients of that grant. So that's amazing, and we feel very privileged and ready to do it. And that's the thing, we wouldn't have been ready. Even a year ago, I don't think we pitched ourselves with the confidence that we did. It wasn't hard to pitch. It wasn't actually doing a sales pitch. It was just communicating clearly what we could offer and how we would do it. And that was always, if you communicate clearly and tell the audience what it is on their terms in the way that they need to hear it, then your success with that communication is much higher. And so that's what we did. And so what we're doing, we've established this business called Navii, and Navii, so navii.com.au is the website. And like I said, we're just pregnant at the moment, but in a couple of months will be some amazing services there for small business. And what we're going to do to help small businesses to take that next step, whatever it is, they may be down this end of the spectrum, it's just taking the next step, because every step you take with technology adoption builds your confidence, and it is a step forward. If you take one step a week, that's 52 steps in a year. My God, you'll have a lead magnet and a marketing funnel in no time. Do that. You'll be at the top of the tree. So that's our job. So these services are going to be, we're going to take you on a user journey where you will come into a house that is like a business like yours, and you will open the rooms to different types of digital transformation for a business like that. So there'll be one that's about sales and marketing, and it will show you the tools and the processes that a small business like yours in your industry is using. It will tell you the benchmarks about what it cost them to do that, what the effort was involved, what have the benefits been for them, so that you can imagine what it's like for yourself. You'll be fully informed and see examples of businesses you can relate to. The other room you'll go into could be about having a smarter business processes. So have you got those foundation things better down? Like, what is the security and backup processes and safe password management processes they're using? What about integration between their bookkeeping and accounting software and their customer relationship management system? What does that look like for a business like theirs, and how is that benefiting them, and what were the costs of doing that? And all the way through this guided journey, you will be able to tick a list and say, I'm interested, I want to know more about that, or I've actually already got that in place, but I'm interested in this. So you're building up a little bit of a profile, a bit like walking through IKEA, through the different showrooms, and you've got your clipboard and you're marking it off. And so when you come out of the house, then we're encouraging you to take the next step. And how we're going to do that is we're going to email you immediately with a package that includes links to free resources that will be of interest to you. So as opposed to we know you can get lots of free resources on the internet, but as opposed to going to a supermarket and everything's everywhere, maybe it's not even in sections and it's all confusing about, well, I think I need to know something about SEO, but what is it and what does it look for my business? Rather than just give you a whole stack, it'll be a nicely curated list that is just right for you based on your profile. We're also going to offer you a free 15-minute consult with a digitally qualified person who has passed our tests as an expert, and will be able to guide you to your next step, and they will have an understanding of your industry. So if you're thinking, yeah, I could do with having a chat with somebody and just say, well, what is the most next important thing for me? I can see I should really do some work on my website. I don't have anything really optimized when it comes to e-commerce, or I need to know more about social media for my marketing. What should my first next step be? So that expert will be able to listen to you and help you make that decision, and then further guide you to services and help that you could get. And so we will have the BizKeeper course on there. We will have other things that will be great services to help you, and we will have guidance to free resources as well, and support options too. Like if you would like to be able to tap into a digital expert in an ongoing sense for a few months to help you, we'll make that offer to you as well. But the thing here is a guided journey with support along the way, because we know that is what business operators are telling us, that they need somebody just that they can tap into, and somebody they trust to be able to help them with that advice. So it's pretty exciting. It's going to be different to what anything else that is out there, and it's certainly the last thing it is going to be is a big, resource library and learning management system. It's going to be much more guided than that. So it's going to
And
be fun.
collaborative, right? And collaborative, really finding the right people and connecting
Yeah.
them to the right people. And speaking of advice, and keeping track on time, your best advice that you've ever received, Liz, is there something that you can talk to about, a mentor, someone that's given you some excellent advice
Yeah.
that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I will. It was actually a bit of a turning point or a decision-making point in my career. And I was working at Tourism Queensland at the time, heading up their digital area. It wasn't called digital in those days. Didn't use the word digital in those days. It's winding the clock back.
Yeah.
But I was heading up online services and
Mm-hmm.
distribution. And I was talking to my boss, a lovely man called Alex Duval, who was the general manager for marketing. And we're having a chat about career going forward, and we were talking about sort of generalizing in terms of management in tourism business generally, because it was all kind of thinking within tourism, or going down this technology pathway. And his advice to me, and he was pretty clear on it, some people give you options. He was pretty clear. He said, you're going to do much, much better, in my opinion, if you have a focus, be known for something in particular as opposed to general, which of course was technology for tourism, and marketing technology for tourism, which of course we now tend to refer to as digital technology and digital marketing. And so I actually took his advice on that, and stayed on that pathway. It felt at the time a very lonely road, I can tell you. I think I would have been one of the only women, if not the only woman, in the tourism industry at the time who had an interest and a senior role in that area. I had no contemporaries who were females at the time. It was very much a male world because they came out of IT and technology degrees. Of course, I met Fabi later, who was a different.
Yeah.
She was the female. She was the female male nerd. Who I was with.
Yeah.
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 And so, and that harks back, doesn't it, to know your niche. What are you? What's your special thing that you offer? So, in any business or in your career options, what is your unique selling proposition, and what is your niche? Might even be a micro niche in your business. So that's what that talks to. And his advice, he didn't describe it as that, but that's what it was. And I think that was really good advice for me.
Really good advice. I think for, the career building side of, for so many humans of tourism, building those blocks and career stacks, as you called it yesterday, with marketing stacks, but also your personal brand of what you're known for. I think that is really, really good advice and something that people should be mindful of. A personal habit that contributes to your success. I know you do. You have a great morning routine. What would be like? Could you share some personal habits that you do on the daily that you think are real contributors when you don't do them and you can see
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it?
When
Yeah,
when I
affects.
do reasonably hard exercise for a few days, oh, it's like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with
Yeah,
me? And that I need to move my body, and to do it in a fairly, fairly full on way. So I do spin classes and weights and things that really do push me physically, and they make me feel great, and they are. It's for my brain as well, because I
mm,
find when I'm focused on that, like when your legs are killing you and you're just like, oh, I can't do any more. When that's going on in your head, I don't know about you when you're on your morning runs,
mm,
but I'll all of a sudden realize that there's part of my brain that's back there somewhere, because it feels like it's back there, that is
yes,
working on a problem. And it will quite
yes,
often be a work problem. It could
yes.
be yeah, challenge that we've got trying to work out the priorities, or working on a strategy, or not happy with something, there's something we've got to get right with a product, and it's percolating,
That's
and
so
then it will
true.
pop.
I've been saying that a lot lately. Like I was thinking on my run this morning. I keep saying that lately in a work context,
Yeah.
not realizing that, yeah, that's you're just working on stuff while you're moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it deliberately, and your brain is doing the work for you. And so exercise
Mm,
is my key to that. But it also just makes me feel good and gives me great energy. When I do that in the morning, I am kick-started. By the time I've had that first coffee and a healthy
yeah.
brekkie, I'm like, yep, ready to
Yeah,
go.
bring it on.
I might peter out a bit later in the day, but it's great stuff. I'm not, you get these people who are very much, read about entrepreneurs only need 4 hours sleep, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's not for everyone.
Yes, yes, yes,
You need
yes.
what you need. You need what you need.
You need what you need. And now you've got a gamut of internet resources. If you could say one that you really love and you like really helps you, stay organized and keep everything intact, what would be an internet resource that you really love and your go-to?
Look, I have to say two here. One is more organisation than the other, but the first one, I think, as a virtual team, which many of you are now working virtually at home, and that's a good thing, and we've always done it. Our morning stand-ups over
Mm,
Zoom are vital for the team to motivate each other and to have that physical connection. Even though it's in two dimensions on screen, it still works, and it gives you, and it's because you're at home too, you guys ought to have found this too, because so many people are meeting on Zoom or Teams or whatever. You're seeing into people's homes, so you're getting insights into their lives, and it's great. So that morning stand up, wherever you are, walking the dogs, whatever, just connect each morning with people in your team, and whilst we're all like Zoomified out,
yeah.
it's a great for that. And then the other one, I reckon Trello,
Yeah.
trello.com. So just
Yeah.
organising, team collaboration on organisation. So you can organise anything on that. We're running the Navii planning on that and sharing that with our federal government team who we're liaising with in Canberra. So they have complete transparency over our product roadmap, the priorities for the month. So we do our planning in it, we get clear on that, and they've got transparency. So I love that, because nothing is a surprise to them as our investors. And so that's awesome. And then we use it, of course, in Tourism Tribe for planning our daily tasks with the team, so
Yes.
everyone can see what each other is working on. And people, you can use Trello for anything. So Trello.com, and it's really easy to have a free account with Trello. You don't need to sign up for a paid one unless I think it's 10 team accounts, then you need to pay. So it's a great one.
Brilliant. A book that you would recommend? You shared a book that you've listened to. You like to listen to books. What's the latest book that you read that you really took some good things away from that you would recommend to our listeners?
I think a book for the digital age that reframes elements within your business to sort of it's about bringing clarity about what's important in business and seeing how each one is an asset, and how to really optimize it as an asset, is called 24 Assets by Daniel Priestley. So he's written a few books, and I found that I listened to it as an audio book, and it works really well as an audio book too, because you're breaking it down into each asset. So he looks at all aspects of business, and goes into technology assets as well, like your website, like your customer database, but also into non-digital assets as well, in terms of your relationships, your partnerships. So he segments it down. So people who like to be able to see each part of how they work together, I think he describes that really well and reframes for the digital age really nicely in business. So I'd recommend that one.
Good one to look out for. Your parting piece of guidance or favorite quote, what would you like to leave our listeners on today, Liz, as we wrap up this? I could keep talking to you all day. And I've got, how lucky am I get to every day of the week.
Look, I always tell people to do what they love, and particularly to tell their children to do what they love. Now, there's a flavour over that now with COVID, and, because what does that look like? If you're an airline pilot and now you're an orderly in a hospital because that's the best other job you could get, and you've got to take inspiration from these people. So I was listening to it because when people ask me this question at the back of podcasts, I always say, tell your children to pursue a career doing what they love. And my 3 children have done that, and that's fantastic. And they've got their jobs in COVID. Yay. But and you go back to what you love doing as a child, were you playing shop? Were you making mud pies? Were you organising the netball team? What were you doing that gives you clues about what it is you love to do, to help you find that thing? But then I just need to add to that, in COVID, obviously, people are having to jump into things just to get a job. If you're an industry that hasn't been able to keep working, and I was listening to this fellow, who's awesome, just the other day, who has gone and got this job as an orderly in a hospital. All he wanted to do as a kid was fly planes, and he's been a commercial pilot for 30 years, and he applied for 30 jobs, and finally this private hospital said, yep, we'll take you. And he's so grateful for that job, and he thinks he says, I'm doing really important work helping these people in the hospital and in theatre, and isn't that inspiring?
Yes.
And what is that journey going to look like for people? How are we going to cultivate love for what we're doing, even if we are not in our ideal job? So go back to the aspects of what it is you like about things within that job. What is it that ticks the list for you? So you might be a great organizer, you could be a great communicator, you might like structure, you might be really good at quality and process. Those things exist in all industries. So try to find that within another industry. And I know we're in a really tough time, and that's there's some idealism in there, but we'll come through this. We absolutely will. So we have to make the most of every day. And I would say that I'm finding myself at the moment, when I think of my attitude for the day, which I'm not I don't do all the time, but I tell you what, yoga is great for this because, quite often you'll think, what am I going to take with me through today, or what am I thinking about for the next few days? Gratitude, such a big one. We've got to be grateful for what we do have rather than focusing on what we don't have at the moment, and that's going to give us strength through this really hard time.
Now more than ever. What beautifully articulated, and what a wonderful way to wrap up an inspiring episode with the wonderful Liz Ward. Liz, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm deeply honoured to be working alongside you and Fabi and the incredible team at Tourism Tribe and Navii. We haven't, like we said, we're still gestating, and there's some really great work to be done to serve, and I've landed with very like-minded people, which I'm deeply grateful for. Now, it would be remiss if you would like to jump in and get a taste of what a training and the education. You can see how Liz is so incredibly, forthcoming with her knowledge in sharing. There is some free training that Tourism Tribe is running on Monday and there's some free courses available if you go to the Tourism Tribe website. It's tourismtribe.com/free courses, and that is something that you can join on and join us at 1:00, a little lunchtime hour of power, and you can get to know more of how to work smart in tourism with your marketing, and also get to know more about the digital business keeper that is launching on the 9th of September. So to find out more about Liz, you can look her up on LinkedIn. You can go to Tourism Tribe. She's all over Instagram, Facebook, and we'll put all of those handles in all of the show notes that will come with this podcast. Liz, such good stuff around legacy, around losing the word just, around, starting with becoming smart, from securing your business, from looking at your SEO and your e-commerce solutions, and get down to the foundations of looking at the personas of your customers, because most likely they've changed as in this current environment. And that's something, not just because we're forced to change, it's always good to stay connected with the most important people of our businesses. So, and more than anything, sharing with us to be grateful and really doing what we love and cultivating the love for what we're doing in environments that might not be the ultimate dream job right now. I've filled my paper with notes again. How lovely to spend a Saturday afternoon being inspired by a leading lady of our industry. Thank you again. Safe driving to your holiday, and we'll catch up, no doubt, on Monday.
We will. I'll talk to you on Monday.
Thank you so much
for listening to me. Thanks, Desi.
Thanks, guys. Thanks again for joining us on the Tourism Hub podcast. If you found this podcast valuable, it will mean the world to give us a review on Apple iTunes. We're also live here every Saturday at 2 p.m. across all the Institute of Excellence Facebook and YouTube channels. And you are all invited. Be excellent, and don't forget, we also have courses available at instituteofexcellence.com to help you and your small business greatness.